So with John Silva's loss to Diego Lopez at UFC Noche, there's this narrative going around that the fighting nerds they all got fraud checked. They're all bums. There's no more hype. Yes, they lost, but I don't think for most of them they really got fraud checked. So in this video, I wanted to break it down the fighting nerds, the main four, says title implications and how much hype they have, starting with the least hyped prospect right now, Ruffy. He's the only one that really got fraud checked. He's got no grappling. Okay, I was the guy. Okay, I did say he was gonna beat the shit out of BSD and it'll be easy work. I did say that. Okay, who can blame me when BSD looks like that? Everybody picked Ruffy going into this. Okay, but it turns out Ruffy doesn't really know how to grapple. It turns out a lot of the fighting nerds don't know how to grapple. But another thing is he's got bad cardio. His cardio is not that good. Okay. That's because he's a speed reliant puncher, a counter puncher he's a sniper, and his fight style depends a lot on him being able to react and being explosive. And you can't explode that much during a fight. You just can't. That's why Connor had quote unquote bad cardio, because of the style that they have. If you're exploding, you're gonna get fatigued. And his power, I thought he had, strong. I thought his power was gonna be at least elite level, but seeing that BSD fight, it didn't seem like his power was that extraordinary. He doesn't have that Taporia power. I think he has good power. He's quite powerful. He's very accurate, but it's not nuclear. And for a striker that doesn't have good grappling, you kind of need to be that nuke. You need to be able to get that guy out of there and use that finishing potential as a threat to set up the rest of your game. And he lost to BSD. He's a very low ranked fighter, and he hasn't really beaten anybody good. Like a knockout over King Green. Oh, I just accidentally called him King Green. Fuck me. Bobby Green, James Yontop, and Jamie Malarkey. That's not that much of a resume. I did fall into this trap as well because he did beat Islam's training partner, but he was losing that fight. And it's gonna take a lot for him to gain his hype back. He needs to fight some strong opposition, some bad matchups, some grapplers, and see where he's at. Obviously, he's still going to be able to be in the rankings. He's still ranked number 15, and he can still make some of himself. But it's not looking good for Huffy. He's got zero hype. He need to build himself back up. Maybe 2-3 years to Georgia and forget. Moving on, John Silva. He just lost, and one thing I'm beginning to notice is that he seems to be mentally ill. That's I'll just say it, and he's not super focused inside the fight. And, before the Lopez fight, it was to his advantage. He was able to play that nonchalant game. I'm waving my hand around, dab me up, bro. But that also means he's not super focused. And in that Lopez fight, he showed that, oh yeah, when he gets overzealous, he landed a good shot on Lopez. He went crazy because he wanted to get the damage that Lopez got on him back, which is understandable, but you need to do it smartly. You're supposed to be the fighting nerds, the thinking fighters. What happened to that, bro? So, that mental aspect is very important. They say half this game is the mind. And if he's unable to reel it back in, where he's going crazy inside the fight, looking for the finish, lunging in front of himself, reaching for shots, and just chasing after Lopez, who wasn't even that hurt, he needs to get that check. If he's unable to, it's exploitable. Imagine he gets rage baited inside the cage. He's going to start going crazy and fucking run into a counter again. His cardio is also a little untested. He looked a little gassed, a little withered in the second round. To be fair, he got beat the hell up in the first. But he's untested. He hasn't gone 5 rounds of the UFC. And also, he's annoying. So, the fans kind of turned on him recently. And Lopez is obviously a very easy guy to root for. He's just a chill guy. He doesn't do much. He just puts on bangers, and that's it. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of why people don't like Silva, but let's say, the barking, it's a little too much. He don't really got that much fanfare right now. But his stocky build, He's well-rounded. He has a submission game, it seems like, but not super well-rounded. It seems like they work too much on specifics, but not enough on just his general grappling. Which got him, he couldn't get on a mount against Lopez. And he's got good potential, but right now it's just the lack of fanfare and the lack of hype because he literally just lost. Might be a little bit of recency bias on this one. Moving on. The leader, Galio. I think he's honestly the best out of the four. He's very well rounded, but I feel like that's kind of to his detriment. He's not supremely good at any area of the game. So that kind of leads him to not have a lot of finishes. But that's kind of the issue where like somebody like Imavov has a better well-rounded game in my opinion because Imavov is obviously one of the best strikers in the division. He's probably the best striker in the division right now. He lost to Strickland. That's such a doozy that he fucking lost to Strickland on 5 days' notice. To be fair, Strickland's style is unorthodox. So just with the eye test, Imavov has the best striking, but he's also very well-rounded. He can he can muscle you around, wrestle a little bit. Whereas Kyle has a very, very well-rounded game where he can finish you on the ground, he can finish you on the feet, but he's not super good at doing either. And, you see that in the Imavov fight, he couldn't really threaten much. It was like he had to play Imavov his game, and it was just difficult for him early. Because Imavov is fucking supremely fast. Never seen anybody that fast at middleweight before. And, the most important part of it is his division. He's got a lot of guys he needs to get through to get back towards that title shot. And the champ is Hamza. How often is Hamza going to fight? Is he going to be able to, get to Galio? And even if Hamza's not the champ, is Galio going to be able to beat somebody like Imavov in a rematch? Is he going to be able to beat somebody like Anthony Hernandez? So that's kind of my, issue with it. It's not that he's not good. It's his division is just very, very jam-packed with talent right now. And he's coming in at a good time. He's coming at a time where, the Adesanyas, the Whitakers, the guys that will be really good for your resume are aging out. But he didn't catch any of them. He caught Cannonier. If he got like a Whitaker matchup, then his resume could look a lot better. He can artificially float his ranking a lot more and be able to get some better fights higher up in the division. But he didn't catch any of those guys, and he's gonna need to fight somebody, like a Brendan Allen, who's a younger guy in his prime, which I will favor him in that matchup. But it's not as easy as like a older version of Adesanya or older version of Whitaker. So. And mainly because of his division. The guy with the most potential, I still think is Carlos Prates. Mainly because the loss to Ian Gary, not a bad loss. Somebody like Ian Gary on short notice is very tricky. Somebody like him, like Sean Strickland, you need to prepare for their style. You need to work the specifics. And it's hard for him to make reads in that fight. Like switching up the style completely. I think he was supposed to fight Neil, and then switching to Ian Gary, that's a big switch up. Even though they're both strikers, the style is so different. And he's got a lot of hype because of his fight style. He's a cool motherfucker, okay? And he's lined up against Leon Edwards, which with that win, if he gets a highlight, he's getting a title shot. That's just how the UFC works, to be honest. But the bad parts are he seems to be mentally checked out. Like this interview right here. I'm not going to play the whole clip, but he said that he's going to fight for the belt, win the belt, rematch Ian Gary, and that's it. Like, that's not what I want to see from my champion. For somebody who's going to be championship, who has a championship legacy, he's mentally checked out already, in my opinion. Like, why are you saying that if you're only like number 8 in the division? He smokes cigarettes, which just shows he's not like a super like elite tier athlete. You can't be when you smoke a cigs. Doesn't seem like he takes his nutrition the most serious, drinking, partying, all that. It's going to be harder for him to be an elite athlete with those habits. And his grappling did get checked. by somebody like Ian Gary. If Ian Gary is able to take you down, what's a Sean Brady gonna do to you? You know, I know Ian Gary has a very good, well-rounded game, and Ian Gary is kind of like a Imavov of the welterweight division, if you think about it. Side note, but what's a Sean Brady gonna do to you? You know, what's a Bilal gonna do to you? So that needs to get worked on. But other than that, he's the closest to a title. He's got the most hype. He's got a style that's promotable. So I think he's got the most likely shot to become a champion in his division. But yeah, man, that's my little analysis on the Fighting Nerds. Let me know what y'all think. Like, subscribe, follow me on X, and I'll catch y'all at the next one, man. Peace.